Welcome Bears fans, this is Bellissimo, that's Chicago, and this is me asking you to bear down on the Bears offensive line. Let's see what we've got as starters, let's see what we've got as backups, let's get to the tape, see what we're dealing with all these injuries.
We're doomed! Doomed!
Welcome back Bears fans, this is Bellissimo. We're going to be looking at the offensive line today. The offensive line is something that we've been looking at in the injury list lately as well. Several of these players unfortunately currently carrying injuries, from Darnell Wright's ankle to Cody Whitehair's hand. We've got Tevin Jenkins with his lower leg injuries that are holding him out at the moment. We haven't even seen Lucas Patrick, but let's see what we have got both from the guys that are starting and the ones that we're going to have possibly coming in from reserve places. We're going to get into this video. I'm going to be watching against the first preseason game and into the second preseason game, looking at some of the reserves, particularly in that one. Let's see what we got. So we're going to roll into this play. I see Justin in the backfield, one of the few players he actually was on the field for. So what I like about this, obviously, when we're looking at working, blocking, Cole Kmet actually part of this line group if you want. What I like here is the positioning of some of these guys here that we're going to see in terms of their blocking and what they're going to be doing. So we're going to see Ja'Tyre Carter just basically try and hold and maintain in position there. We're going to get a double on defensive tackle here. We're going to get a double on defensive tackle here. And the whole the premise of this is that whoever is coming off the double then works down to the second block. So if that can maintain there, you work down to the second block, for example, and then we see what we get. So in terms of movement, what we actually want to see is movement off the line of scrimmage. So what we do see here is we're seeing Cody and Tevin Jenkins already get movement on the biggest defensive tackle there. Obviously this is a tight end and tackle trying to get movement. One of the issues I've talked about with Braxton Jones when he does have issues is when he gets a little bit too high there, if anything a little bit too high there. What we are going to see as well, Ja'Tyre Carter, the one thing that he does do from time to time, which does get him into a few little problems, is he will occasionally drop his head into contact. As you can see, dropping his head slightly there, that's when he tends to get into trouble. But as you can see, good position, basically a position block here. We're moving people off the line of scrimmage, we're moving people off the line of scrimmage. Cole goes down to second level, he's got to get a piece of this linebacker if he can, and it means we're going to have a nice little sort of cutback up here. You see Braxton, where he's a little bit too high, gets hold of his shoulder, talks him down, and you can see now, Tevin Jenkins losing a little bit of position there, and that's why the play ultimately doesn't get maybe as many yards as it does. Braxton stays in contact, could be guilty of a hold there, I don't know, but what I do like here is Tevin Jenkins shows that, and when you keep your hands on the inside of the body, you keep both of them engaged, you're not going to get called for a hold. When you've got a hand around the body, you might get called for a hold. But what I do like here is the rookie on the far side of the play. Yeah, it's backside of the play, so it isn't so much of an issue, especially with the wide nine. Drops his head into contact, gets himself into trouble to start off with, but then he's able to sort of recover, keep working his feet, get back, play side, ends up tripping over Ja'Tyre Carter's man and the corpse of Cody Whitehair, who gets shooked off pretty good there. You see, I don't know if you see this here, but again, one of the problems is when it does get all bunched up and everyone's so tight, as you see in here, all the footwork is tight here. And some of this is actually sort of the gap spacing that you see between people. Some people like a full yard, some people like it narrower. As you can see, the Bears have got it fairly narrow here. And one of the downsides of that is if you do lose a little bit of ground to keep position, as in position block, and sometimes you will get people tripping up over feet and stuff like that. And we see a little bit, first preseason game, you're going to see some of this. We won't dwell on it too much, we'll get into the next clip. So we're into the second play now, we've got one back, so it looks like 11 personnel from this sort of look, one tight end, one running back. Looking at it, looks like pretty much almost base. You've got definitely, sort of linebacker there, three with their hands in the dirt, one stand up end, or outside linebacker with like an under front. Under because you're away from the tight end, over would be over the tight end with the defensive lineman. So going there, it's like a 3-4 under, basically is what you would say. So 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers under. That would make him the Mike. So again, let's see what we get. So Velus Jones Jr., not the best blocking wide receiver in the world, but let's see how he does as well with the offensive line in this play. So he's actually at the point of attack on this play, Valus Jones. So he's looking inside initially and then looks outside. And the problem is we get an inside move by the defensive end. So I think Valus is supposed to get a piece of him by the looks of things, because he looks inside initially. I think it's supposed to be essentially like a crack there. The problem is when you get slants away from him, he knows he can't get a piece of him now. So what we should have is an answer here between the two of them. And really, in terms of zone, when you're looking at zone, so what do I mean by zone? When you're looking at zone blocking, so from the centre of each man, you basically say if you're going this way, from head up to this side, you are covered. From this side, you are uncovered. So this man would be uncovered if he's this side. He would be covered if he's this side or in the gap here. Again, same with here. Yeah, that would be covered. This would be uncovered. So you would expect him to leave this man. That would be Cody Whitehairs. You go there, etc., 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 all the way across. That works fine until you get that, where you move in the spot. So he's going to be going out to this gap. So the minute he crosses his face, but he hasn't crossed the line of scrimmage, goes across his face, then this becomes covered. You'd expect him to pick up there. That's the rules that I've certainly worked to in the past. We don't get that. So we get both men leave, because I think this is actually supposed to be a crack on the end by Valus Jones. Valus Jones goes to try and block somebody, so at least he is trying to find work. Cody Whitehair wafting a hand at somebody, so it's not ideal really. So again, where you covered, uncovered, this really isn't Tevin Jenkins, man. It kind of is Braxton Jones, but again, he's slanting to the outside. So everybody on this defensive line is slanting. So you've got to have an answer for this, because if you don't know who you're going to be blocking if they move away, or if someone moves towards you in a zone system, you really are going to get yourself into problems where you get 1, 2 through the line of scrimmage before the ball has even been handed off. And the linebacker also free to come and hit whatever he wants pretty much, because now we're facing the wrong way. So Jatari Carter trying to get down to it. This is the reason why the play fails. Cody Whitehair tries to recover and get a piece of the defensive tackle, but at the end of the day, it's a bit of a mess because of what happened on this right-hand side. Yeah, we're expecting to crack the end because that's where he is. Well, that's not where he is when the ball is snapped. He's inside, so really, now that's your man. You kick him out. You get down to that level, and you hope that Khalil Herbert can get in behind. Again, this is stuff that you really, you don't mind seeing this in the preseason, because that's what you want to get cleaned up. That's the whole purpose of this, is to get this tape and to be able to find answers for the season. So as we can see from the quarterback in the backfield and the halfback in the backfield, we're no longer got the starters on the field. So who do we have? We've got Larry Borum on the left-hand side. We've got Alex Leatherwood at left guard. We've got Doug Kramer, who has been one of the bright spots. Jatari Carter still in. This guy, I can't even remember. I think he's actually going to get cut. He's not played that well for me. I will have his name later on in this video. I will have to look it up, I'm going to be honest with you. But what do we get? Doug Kramer has been a bit of a highlight for me of the preseason so far. Why is that? Well, let's take a look at getting to snaps. We've seen motion go, half field motion, to see what we've got, looking down the middle of the field. We've got sort of a slide across, but we don't actually follow, really tightly. So he's not actually over the man. He kind of shifts in, but we don't see any defensive line shift. This is all information for the quarterback. Let's see what we get from the snap from the get-go. Looks like cover 2. So there goes the snap. So wide set with no help from the tight end Carlson going sort of in, out, shake it all about, get past him. So what do we get? So slide into the left. You can see Kramer and everyone else is sliding to the left. So working at this. Shoots his hands out a little bit too quickly. Decent body position by Leatherwood. Shoots his hands out too quickly. Longer arm defensive lineman. Swats his hands away. He's defeated on the block and in a bad position, but because Kramer is going to the left, look at the difference in hand fit, look at where his hands are, power position, in a really good shape there to be able to stop that. So great stuff by Doug Kramer there, not so good by Alex Leatherwood, shooting his hands maybe a little bit too quickly, watch why he gets beaten with his hands. Oppositely though, we see Borum down here with this matchup, being patient with the hands, good body position, into it, see where he tries to swat his hands off, but he's then able to recover. One hand still maintains the body, so whilst he tries to swap it off, right hand stays on the body. He's then able to square up, reset his feet, going nowhere. Jatari Carter's looking at this matchup here. Again, sort of a wider 3-tech stroke 4-eye. Shows the outside move, so he's trying to basically beat him to the inside, turns it into a bull rush. 2 crow steps later, resets his feet, good position. stops him nicely, and the tackle, who has said is going to be, possible cut, way too high for me in this back. This is all way too high. If he turns that speed to power, then it's over. But he's just doing a speed rush and still manages to beat him. Almost gets a hand on the pass. Not a great rep there. So the mystery of who is 74 is answered in this tape that we're now getting into the Colts tape. It is Aviante Collins, and as you can see, the more observant of you will notice that there has been a swap between the left tackle and right tackle spots on this particular roster line, where Borum was left in the previous game. He is now right. This kind of indicates you that they're looking to see who is the better swing tackle of the two, and for me the answer is Larry Borum, but I'll let you make your own determination from what you're seeing on tape. Aviante Collins is left tackle at the moment with the weaker of the guards. I think this is probably the best side of the line, if I'm being honest. Jatari Carter's played pretty well in pre-season. Doug Kramer's played pretty well, and Larry Borum's played pretty well to this point. Yes, it's 2 games into the pre-season against reserves, etc. Those are the caveats, but let's look at the fundamentals of how they're setting up body position, where they're putting the hand striking, all that sort of stuff. So you see motion goes across. We see a shift this time in the alignment of the defensive line. So whereas your 3-tech becomes a 1-tech, 1-tech becomes a 3-tech. So you see that slide across. That just changes blocking priorities a little bit on the offensive line. And what I do like here is you see the difference. So I was speaking about this in my previous videos. You can go and check them on. When you're sort of playing doubles, when you're playing a little off the offensive line, your first threat is the defensive line. If you don't get movement here, even in the zone scheme, so if you just completely ignore him, let's say we're running this way on that RPO kind of look. If we don't get this guy off the line of scrimmage and Larry's not able to move him independently, then it doesn't really matter if you get down to the back or if we can't get past this point here. Now, what the Bears appear to be doing this year, which I said Morgan probably would be looking at last year, is you actually work a double to get off the line of scrimmage. Then, whichever is the free man from this block, depending upon where the defender moves to or moves, whether they slant, whether they stunt, where they move to, the other person then becomes the person who releases from the double, goes down to the second level. So let's just look at these 2 doubles, because we're going to get a double here, we're going to get a double here, and a solo block here, Aviante Collins, and Carlson, the tight end, is over here. He's going to be left single. So let's look at these doubles. So you see the difference in body position in terms of Leatherwood drops his head right under the face cage of this defender. Dropping your head into contact is never good because you can't really see what you're doing. On the other hand, basically Jatari Carter puts his face mask onto the shoulder pad of the player. He gets the body position. They get the shoulders up. You see the working the shoulders up of the defender. This one working the shoulders up. Once you get a man up in the air, it's so much easier to drive him one-on-one, and that's why we're getting good movement there. So we're 2 yards off the line of scrimmage. And look at the difference in sort of depth off the line of scrimmage. 2 yards off the line of scrimmage, barely half a yard. And the problem here is what you call the dissociation between the 2 players. You see the gap widening between the 2 players. Look at the difference here where it's all sort of much tighter. That means then it's much easier to sort of late on to come and get a block there. Whereas here, if you release, then he's into the gap because you physically haven't got a position. Although Doug Kramer's actually done, into him, working him. Look at him working his feet. Coaches would love to see this. Working the ladder. His feet never come together. They're always a little bit wider apart. Good movement off the line of scrimmage, and Donta Foreman can basically make hay out of that, and it's a pretty decent run at the end of the day. I mean, we start off on that yard line, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yards into contact. Pretty decent run on first down. And you see Doug still going at it here, so that's what I like about Doug Kramer. He will literally go from the very start of the first whistle to the very echo of the last whistle. He will be in contact on someone making their day worse. Same lineup, so obviously we're looking at mostly reserves. I mean, we're probably going to see Jatari Carter maybe get some starting at the start of the season. Nate Davis obviously has not been in the lineup to this point. Let's see if he's in the 3rd pre-season game. We are looking at reserve type players. Larry Borum, I believe, will be the swing tackle. Doug Kramer, I think, should be possibly pushing for a start at centre. We haven't seen Lucas Patrick at the end of the day. He's spent more time on a golf course than he has on the Bears practice field. Let's see what we get though with a double A gap blitz look. Double A gap blitz linebackers. We got wide defensive linemen. So what they're trying to do is basically split and isolate individuals, make them think they're going to get pressure from where there isn't. So again, in terms of it's a bluff, but you see 41 is coming, 50 is staying, 59 is staying. So it's like a hesitation from the middle linebacker. 41 is trying to get Doug Kramer to bite. What we have done is we've called it. So what has Doug Kramer called basically on the protection? What he's basically called is he's called right, which means halfback looks to the middle, and then we're going to take the big bodies. With the big bodies, we're going to take the small body. So depending upon who's bluffing, if this guy is out here, let's say for example, then we're probably going to be looking at big bodies in here, and that's the way it would go. And then you'd look inside and then check to outside. You always look inside first, check to outside as a running back. That's where the body's going to be coming from, and we're basically going to be shifting over here to these blocks, and that's the way it's going to be called. Let's see what it does in action. So the one of the backs does come. See, Kramer's there, 59 comes as well, but now he's looking for work. Jatari Carter, again, giving up a little bit of position, lets him get his head into his chest a little bit, so he's in a good ball position. But again, you see the body position of both Larry Borum and Jatari Carter, pretty good body positions. This is god-awful. God knows what the hell that is, Aviante. He is, to be fair to him, he's trying to give a hand to steer with Leatherwood's man. Leatherwood shoots his hands too quickly. He's got long arms as well, Leatherwood. He doesn't need to shoot his hands this quickly into contact, because shooting your hand out that slowly here, I don't know if you see this, we'll isolate it again, that's not a punch, that's a slap. Maybe put your hand on, maybe, I want to stroke shoulder pad, feel and material feels like. What you want to be doing is shocking him, knocking him on his ass with your hand punch. He's using basically pure mass. He's at least keeping his ass low and his shoulders up, so that's the good thing about what Leatherwood has done there. Aviante Collins not too much good. I mean, he's crossing feet, he's in a bad position, he's now standing on Leatherwood's feet, could roll onto the QB as well. Not a great rep around Aviante Collins, but the right side of the line, that looks pretty cushy, as we say over here. That's pretty good pass blocking, we'll accept that. The throw goes where it goes. At the end of the day, PJ Walker not had great preseason to this point. So 11 personnel. We've got Simba Webster, again not the most robust of blocking wide receivers. Equinemi sent Brown in motion. Let's see what we get. In terms of their formation, I mean, we've basically got what I think is nickel, because this is a DB here, two linebackers. That might be, I'm not sure if that's a linebacker. If it is, it's base. It is a linebacker, it's base. So again, we're working the doubles again, like we said the previous one. This time it's a lot cleaner. You see, we don't shoot the hands out too quickly this time by Leatherwood. It means Doug Kramer's able to get his head and look at him working his feet to get that movement. And then Doug notices why Leatherwood is looking to this guy, I don't know. But Aviante Collins again. I mean, it sounds like I'm picking on him. He's looking to the inside. He's shucking the defensive lineman across. But because he's too far forward on the line of scrimmage, he's creating a gap, a void that Kramer then can't get into. But because we get such good blocking here with this double, again, Jatari Carter getting under the pads, Larry Borum getting under the pads, look at them working them, clearing them off the line of scrimmage. Carlson with a decent position block. Simba Webster at least putting hands on somebody. Not much effort with your feet there though, Simba. You've actually got to drive your feet to actually move them. Dante Foreman says, okay, well, if you're not going to drive him yourself, I'm just going to knock you into him. Jatari Carter working his man, 6 yards downfield now on his combo block. So he's got to second level. This is what we want. We want this double to get down to the second level, leave that in isolation, move them off the line of scrimmage, and this is really what we get. So this is actually really good work between Borum and Jatari Carter here. Not so good here. We're pushing the defensive lineman into the gap, and we're too far forward, and then we're completely detached from here. Not great by Aviante Collins. Makes Doug Kramer's job look a lot worse because this guy's coming into the gap from what was a defensive end position. That's not really Doug Kramer's man, even on the twist. It should be passed across in a much different way. You would expect him not to necessarily push him into the hole like that when he knows that that's play side. But Dante Foreman basically does a very good job there with the run. Nice good yards, but mostly made by Jatari Carter and Larry Borum, really dominating their guys off the line of scrimmage and carrying on working them downfield right the way to the very end of the play. Great effort by those boys up front. So Bears got 11 personnel out of gun this time. So the motion of the back, basically, what we see here, we don't see really a difference in. You'd expect to see either a rotation of safeties, like maybe one up, one down, when you've already got a difference in the alignment down here, you'd expect to maybe see possibly, if it's half field zone, you'd expect to see a rotation, something like that. We don't say that here, so we're looking at possibly zone. Because he moved across and we didn't see a movement from linebackers, we didn't see a shift from defensive line, probably thinking zone coverage in terms of us passing. So what do we get pass blocking up front? Doug Kramer is basically, Jatari Carter gets a hand on the defensive tackle, but Doug Kramer already, from a right hand snap to a right hand block, which is difficult, especially to put the ball literally right on the QB's numbers, something that we've seen Cody Whitehair have issues with previously. Really good work by Doug Kramer to get under the pads. Look at the body position. Look, he's under the pads of the man. You see the difference where his head is under and his face is literally on the numbers of the defensive lineman. In a great position. Again, Larry Borum's head is lower. Power position here in terms of getting control of the guy that's doing a speed move around the outside. Jatari Carter's got time to basically come and have a look. Leatherwood, on the other hand, a little bit too far back in our stance, particularly if we're going to get a brawl rush move. We're going to concede ground. We're leaning backwards here in the back pedal, but, you know, not ideal. But let's see if he actually makes a better contact there. He's kind of absorbing. He's not really. You see, he's not really shooting his hands, not really firing his hands. Leatherwood, we've said his hand usage is a little bit early, a little bit slow, a little bit lazy. We're seeing more of the same in terms of hand usage here by Alex Leatherwood. He's using mass at the end of the day to do it, not necessarily technique. But what I will say about him here is, once he concedes ground, you see him get into that better body position. That's a good body position to be in for an offensive lineman when you're working against power. Gets into good position, stops his man. So we'll give him the pass on that. Not great hand usage, a little bit slow, a little bit late, not enough violence for me. But we do get good control to finish it. We do get good body position, and we're keeping the pocket intact. Up here, though, you know, good work again on the right-hand side of the line. Let it play through, let you decide for yourself. That's pretty good protection. A nice stiff arm at the end. So again, 11 personnel. Going to roll into it. Okay, so we see here, obviously, just things to pay attention to. It looks like base in terms of 4-3, but you get that sort of nickel look with what looks like an overload. Aviante Collins is actually saying, pay attention on the left, pay attention on the left. But we're sliding the line to the right. We've got 3 and 2, so we do an actual pretty good job of picking this up, to be honest. I mean, that's pretty good so far. Leatherwood this time, a little bit slow, a little bit late with the hands and feet, but you know, decent body position, using those long arms to keep the defensive tackle moving across. The only problem is we don't get a chip here. If this man's got a free release, Walker's either got to have a hot read, which is getting rid of straight away, or we need to be getting a chip from that halfback. And you can see he's in man with the linebacker. He really needs to just basically throw this sit here because it's a hot route, free man coming. It's decent protection up front. So this sack is not on the offensive line, in my opinion. They've called the protection right. The QB should know that. And if he sees this man, you know, which he should do, because I don't know if you can see, but his head does actually come to this guy coming to the outside. He does see that, but he never sort of gets off this hot read here, which is where he maybe should be putting the ball, taking the completion. Again, just running into trouble. This sack is not on the offensive line. 3rd down as well. So 2 of what it seems like certainly Bears Twitter. I'm not sure about Bears' other social media platforms, fan platforms, but Tyson Bagent, Roshan Johnson, I mean, 2 of the favourite players that people seem to be picking up on at the moment. But what do we get? Okay, so we get trips left, tight end right, and it's basically what you would traditionally call inline. So Roshan Johnson in sort of what looks like a running position, to be honest, because the depth, like 7 yards back. So it looks like maybe expecting the run, because otherwise he'd probably be a little bit closer. So motion goes across. What does motion tell us? Well, we get trail. You see they're in line, they're married. That kind of tells you we don't get any other shift on the defensive line or anything like that. That kind of shows you man. The Bagent's obviously aware of that. And what do we get? It looks like, one of the tells as a defensive lineman is when everyone just goes sideways, you're probably looking at play action, not an actual run. To be fair, because we get people coming in and sort of making fairly decent contact. Kramer gets on his guy, ushering him across. Borum gets on his guy, ushering him across. Jatari Carter running down the line of scrimmage. The linebackers really should know by now that this is actually play action. So as Bajan comes out, it's Doris Fountain, I think. It's Simba Webster, isn't it? 83. So 83 is running like a hezzy over, deep over, and then basically sit with like a run off down here. JT O'Sullivan did a really good breakdown of this. Nice play action work by Bajan here, pushing the ball right the way out. Roshan Johnson really selling that as well. Good work by them. But then he's got to get on his wheels, Bajan, which he does. That sell on the play action, pretty good work up front by the offensive line. No one going downfield, that's what you want to see. And then it means Bajan's able to get outside. Really nice throw on the run. Good location, maybe a little bit infield, but great throw on the run, great location, first down, but good work up front to start it all off. This time we're working out a gun inline tight end again to the right, and obviously you've got halfback and tight end to the right. So what you're basically doing is, with these two over here, you want to see numbers of defenders that you've got over here. So you've got obviously a defensive back, linebacker, safety over the top who's walked down. So we're watching to see what this motion tells us. As you see a rotation, so half field zone is what we're looking at. Also we see this defender over here from showing to going. So Bajan obviously got his eyes in the right place. Let's see what we get in front. Again, this shows you straight away. See the way Borum comes off the line of scrimmage here in terms of that block. That's some real oomph up front. That's the way you come off the ball, guys. Jatari Carter getting his shoulder into the body. Borum getting the movement. We want to see Borum get down to linebacker, which he does. Great work. Roshan Johnson's got a nice big hole to run through. Doesn't take much of a block at the end of the day by the wide receiver Reed there. But again, good work by him just to get body position. And then that's why Roshan Johnson able to get that movement. Really good work. This is how you come off the ball. Look at the difference between the two halves of the line. Coming off the ball. Doug Kramer comes off the ball, gets on his dude, working his feet, keeps his feet churning, gets some movement that way. But Larry Borum, take your plaudits, Larry, because this is really good stuff. That's the way you come off the ball. That's the way you get movement, and then you get down to the backer. Roshan appreciates it, I'm sure. So congratulations for all those that have made it to this point of the video. I just want to take this time to encourage you to do something nice for somebody today, for no other reason than the fact it's a good thing to do. With that said, let's get into the play. I formation, good old I formation. Whilst from the right, we move to the left. We've got a lot of the people in the box. Half field, you see, so it's a yo-yo motion. So wide tight end, yo-yo motion comes in. So yo goes forward, yo comes back. And then what is that telling us? Well, you see the shift by the linebackers on the outside. Defender walked up into the box. That's the safety uncounted man in the box. So we're getting a run stopping type of formation. See Bajan with the check there. And again, what are you getting up front? Jatari Carter leaving like his house is on fire and he's late to pick up his kids from school or something. Really good just to get a hand. Good work by Larry Borum to get inside his man, get body position. This time decent work up front. Aviante Collins, I've had some comments on him so far, but that's much better work to get to the wide nine. Just get body position, get him out of the way. Leatherwood doesn't really get much movement on his guy, but he's got those long arms. He's able to get down to linebacker. So that's pretty good from there. Doug Kramer getting onto his defensive tackle. Keeps in movement. Jatari Carter able to get down to this linebacker. Larry's created that room. Carlson comes in here, creates a seal. That's a pretty nice lane to run through. And Roshan, does what Roshan does. Lowers his head, knocks somebody over, gets another 4 yards. I formation again. I'd just like to take this opportunity to say like the video, share the video, subscribe, comment on it. Motion by the fullback going to a weighted side, so basically sort of coming to that left hand side. And then what do we get up front? So we're singled on the right. So single. Doug Kramer looking for work. Leatherwood one-on-one. Aviante Collins one-on-one. So credit where it's due, criticism where it's due. Working to the right, Leatherwood this time. Again, a little bit slow and a little bit passive with his hands, but good body position at least. What I do like here, Aviante Collins, is this is actually a good technique. You see this here. His body position is not a great body position, but watch him get hands off with this right hand chop down. Gets the defensive end all out of position. Is able then to drive him into the floor. That's pretty good work actually by Aviante Collins. Leatherwood maintaining his position. And then they're able to get out because obviously it is an attempted screen, I believe. Bajan just gets a little bit hoppity in the backfield there, as it is a screen, but completes it. 3 people out in front. Let's see what they do. Jatari Carter's peeling back looking for work. This is really important, as it means there's going to be no backside pursuit. So gets there. 2 people up front on that guy. A bit of a waste actually getting 2 people, but Doug Kramer, nice block. It means that Leatherwood's down there, kind of a little bit out of balance there. Roshan basically pushing him in, saying, go and make a block there, be useful. So we're into the last 3. We're going to be flying through these. Obviously, it is what it is. What we're looking at is to see the guys that are going to be on the depth of the roster. Can they start? Are they going to be at least at the very worst serviceable? We've seen some encouraging signs by some of that crew. So we look like we're in pass protection here. Let's see what we do with the pass protection up front. So again, we're getting just the base 4. We're getting a base rush. We should be able to cover this. So the downside of what we've seen by Leatherwood so far, we're seeing again, hands slow, hands passive. Too easy to defeat, hand fighting interior. Club and it's all over. But what we do see is the call of protection left, leaving Larry Borum out on an island on the right. Larry doing a good job out there on his guy. Gives him all kinds of room. Because we've done that sort of left and we're pushing everyone that way. Creates a nice throwing lane for the QB Bajan. Jatari Carter, again, his guy's inside, so it's actually quite an easy block for him just to keep him going that way. Doug Kramer, his guy actually, though, slants across, goes from Leatherwood into him. Very late, but he's able to maintain body position, keep his body underneath him, get underneath the guy, so that's a pretty good way to finish that block. Aviante Collins, for all the criticism I've had, independent hand fire in there. He's dropping his head into contact there. Not a great body position. He's a little bit too high in the waist. But the rest of it's pretty good there. It's a nice completion by Bajan. So we're into the downs where we need to make money on offense, which is actually punching the ball into the end zone. Obviously the big boys are up front. They're obviously very closed in terms of the bodies you're going to have to move are all right there in front of you. Probably 5-6 yards line scrimmage. Let's see what we get up front. Motion again. Consistently, what we've seen from these reserve offensive linemen is the people who are firing off the ball the best are this side, which is Jatari Carter, Larry Borum. Doug Kramer doing a decent job firing off the ball as well, but we see everyone else on this, Leatherwood and Aviante Collins, a little bit slow off the line of scrimmage. Not great body positions, but we get movement up front by Larry Borum. Jatari Carter gets down to second level. Tight end is able to actually keep at least his guy coming across. Symbol Webster gets inside his man, creating a bit of room. Roshan able to put his head down, make some yards. But up front, Borum, Carter, nice work by those boys. If he can just run, if Roshan can just basically stay on the hip there, drive, try and get in the end zone that way, which he does, and makes pretty good progress down to about the 1. So last play today, you can tell me in the comments which offensive linemen you thought were good, which offensive linemen you thought were bad, what you thought they did as a first offensive line, second offensive line as a whole across both games, whether you think Kramer is better than Whitehair at centre, or is Jatari Carter worthy of a start at right guard, is Larry Borum the swing tackle, is Leatherwood serviceable as a backup guard, or should we keep Kramer as a backup centre with the knowledge that Patrick and, I say Patrick, that's a bit of a stretch, Patrick can play guard, sort of. Cody Whitehair definitely can, providing he's fit. Tell me what you think about all those things. But what we do see here again is a twist. So we're going to see a twist up front. So we're trying to get into the gap to occupy guard and centre with a stunt around the back, thinking that Leatherwood might leave his guy or leave a gap and sort of move to the left, which we do see him looking left. So he's kind of a little bit unaware of that. Tight end does get a chock here though. So these two basically are unemployed at this point. Larry Borum one-on-one. Not a great position that time, Larry. A little bit sort of back on our feet. But again, recovery in terms of getting your feet round and under you, pretty good. And then getting them into a power position, much better. Hands in the pad, good body position, good hand level. Jatari Carter, though, watching that twist and then knowing it's coming from the left. Doug Kramer picking up and then moving to the left. A little bit late coming off that double. by Doug. Leatherwood does see it though, at least a little bit see it. Too late a little bit. But again, coming around the back of that, Kramer needs to get off a little bit quicker there. He's left swiping at it, but Bajent kind of runs down, and then Collins at the end of the day, he's had nothing to do, and then he does nothing. Not great. But this is all off the back of Kramer maybe not getting his head round, but Leatherwood's completely redundant there. He should be much tighter to Kramer. This gap should not be as wide as it is. He should be able to maintain that, especially with that twist coming across, and maybe get a bit more of him than that. That's just literally waving him past straight to the QB. This is nothing to do with Borum. Borum's done a good job there. That's why it results in a sack. But let me know what you liked, what you didn't. Be kind, bear down.
Anyway, ciao.